Hello, guys. If there's one thing that I would love everybody to have, everyone to experience, and everyone to get from the energy that I put into the world and get from my content, it would be this: true inner stability and inner knowing of yourself, unshakability, incorruptibility in your centeredness within yourself. It's not something that only invincible people have. It's not something that only the ultra confident or the ultra embodied and potentiated beings have. It's something that we can all have. It's something that is accessible to us all. Now, I'm going to talk about the difference in the people that appear unshakable and confident and anchored in their inner security, and those who appear in an insecure way. I'm going to talk about the difference between them in a second. But before I do that, I want to talk a little bit more about this state of being and why it's important. When you can be in acknowledgement of your true inner stability, your unshakability, you're able to hold this center that is unaffected by the things that happen to you in your life. Let's say you fail at something, or you don't achieve in the way that you want to achieve. If you're not unshakable in what you know yourself to be, then you're going to take that to heart and believe that you're a certain way. Believe that you're a failure. Believe that you're XYZ projection onto self, whatever conclusion that you take this thing to mean about yourself, you're going to believe that you're that. Whereas if you're unshakable in the way that you know yourself, you're never going to doubt. You're never going to move away from the true recognition that you have of yourself. It's unaffected by anything that happens. No matter what conclusion you could come to about the thing that happens to you, no, you know yourself. And nothing can take that from you. When we allow circumstances to take our sense of stability and security and unshakability from ourselves, we are choosing that happening, that conclusion that I've come to, that thought is more powerful and more important and a higher priority to give the central stage than my own inner reality and the inner truth of me, which can only be absolute stability. Do you see this? This is how we actually begin to develop this allegiance towards true stability and true security inside of ourselves, is when we are no longer willing to give priority and importance to the things that show up to shake us. When we no longer say, this has power over me. I have forgotten my own power, so I'm going to say that the presence of this thing that is showing up is blocking me being able to have my power. So as a result, I'm going to become disempowered by it. So this is part of the training. Part of the training is being firm in your priority. Is your priority to know your unshakability and your inner stability? Or is your priority to continue to come to conclusions about what happens to you and thus generate a state of instability and feeling less secure and just creating this vicious cycle of circumstance that triggers you to feel insecure and taken away from your power and confidence? Thus you believe yourself to be that, and then the circle just goes on and on and on and on. We're letting things that show up confirm the negative and the untrue about ourselves, where in actual fact these things are showing up to help us confirm what is the truth about ourselves, which is that I am in my power and that I am unshakable and that the ground of me is unaffected by what happens. That is the real opportunity of the things that show up in order to shake you. But we don't recognize them as such. So this is one of the key points. Being actually stubborn in that, choosing your priority, choosing your allegiance, and not being susceptible to going over to the other side. What do you prioritize? Just be a bit black and white and real with yourself on this. This is the only way to approach it, because it's a matter of the mind. And the only way to deal with the mind is through strong, clear, direct seeing. Common sense in some ways. It's applying logic. You could call it logic. It is logic in some ways. In other ways, it's an ability to have true sight, true recognition of the actual nature of existence. You see this appearance as empty, as meaningless, because you're not pasting a conclusion onto it. Doesn't mean shit about you. How could it possibly? See, this is where it feels a little bit logical because it's almost scientific. It's just common sense in a lot of ways. And the more we empower ourselves to acknowledge that it's just about being sensible and a bit logical and developing this ability to truly see, the easier it's going to feel, the closer to you it's going to feel. And this is the thing we should be aiming to do. We should be aiming to demystify our process, to demystify the journey upwards the journey upwards to embody that which you want to step into. You need to demystify this. It's only your mind that makes it complicated. That's only a tale that your mind spins. The less that you can fall for the mystical, untouchable, intangible web that your mind spins about it, the closer you can bring it to yourself. Because in reality, it is close. It's close because you're choosing it to be close and you're allowing it to be close. And now this is a helpful thing to acknowledge, is that we have the ability to access any state that we choose. It's up to us what state we embody, what state we choose to be in. But what happens is that we project a separation between us and it by our belief that it's difficult to be in that state, or whatever other thought you're having about it, whether you believe it's only available to a certain type of person, or you believe that it's only available to you when you're a certain way, whatever it is, that is a projection of energy that creates a veil of separation between you and that. So the process of stepping more into what you want to embody is actually a process of seeing through the veils of separation that you project between you and it, and no longer buying them. Free from the game. Because you recognize that, oh yeah, I'm the one that creates the game. I'm both the player and the game and what is being played. So back to what I was saying at the start. The difference between the person that is confident and in their power, or let me just say, a bit more accurate, the difference between someone who appears to be confident and in their power, and the difference between someone who appears to be not confident and not in their power. The difference is not in the person themselves. It's nothing to do with their potential or the energy they have access to. It's all about the conclusions that their mind has come to and the conclusions that they're allowing their mind to come to. The person that appears insecure and not confident has been in a state of confidence and centeredness within themselves. However, the mind threw in a line that said, look at this sensation, or look at this. And then they pasted onto it a conclusion. oh yeah, that represents, or that means that we're not secure. And thus they took the hook and they believed it. And through the belief, they chose the experience and generated that frequency. The person who appears confident or representing a sense of self-security may actually also have those thoughts that try to suggest that they are not confident, that they are not secure. But they are not letting themselves get hooked into it. They're not choosing to buy it. That's the only difference. It's in how you engage with the thoughts. It's in how you are able to hold yourself solid before the thoughts and not be taken on a ride with the thoughts. Where you don't come to conclusions, paste meanings onto sensations and thoughts, and thus generate your own experience of these frequencies. It's you that's choosing to generate the experience of the frequencies. It's not what you are. And when you can actually empower this perspective inside of yourself, you give yourself a lot of liberation. But of course, with freedom comes responsibility. When you know better, you have to do better. This is the law of responsibility. Now you know better, you have to actually take ownership to keep yourself ahead so that you are no longer falling for this. But hopefully by me saying this and by me pointing this out, and whatever this drops in inside of you, that can be the beginning of this. So we no longer buy into the tricks. And we no longer try to fix ourselves. We no longer try to work with our insecurity because we just see it as faults. If you are working with yourself on the level of insecurity, you are saying that that is more true. That is what I believe to be true. Whereas you could just say, whoops, I accidentally allowed myself to be pulled over into that realm. I'm going to back step a bit, return to the true ground within myself that knows only stability, return to my center, rest there for a bit. Might take a little bit of time before my energy is able to fully recalibrate back to the frequency of security and confidence and unshakability. But I do know that it's there. I know that it's the only thing that's there. I know that these appearances or these suggestions that I'm unconfident or insecure or whatever it is, I know that they're just suggestions. I know that I'm projecting meaning onto it. And I don't have to buy it. Now, there may be energetic things that your system has to process and let go of. And these energetic things may be blocks in certain areas of your energy centers, and they may be what is connected to your feelings that you hold certain things, whether it's lack of being in your power or insecurity, whatever it is. And it may be true. You may be accurate in your read of that. However, I think it's really helpful to just see that this is energy that needs to move and needs to be processed. You don't need to invest in the story too much. You don't need to invest in the details too much. So as you make these new choices to stay in the ground of your true stability and security, you will also have to process and move this energy from inside of yourself. So this is the nuancy part. When you're choosing to stay anchored in your stability, try to intuit what the difference is in being authentically there and being there in a way that is forced and artificial and is suppressing a certain energy that's arising, and you're just trying to be there from a willful place. If you truly know the stability, you'll be able to be in the stability and at the same time experience the arising of the energy that suggests insecurity. Let that energy move, let that be processed. Hold space for it. This might look like you enter a circumstance where a type of nervousness generally shows up, and you don't fight it, you don't respond to it, you don't crystallize it more by coming to conclusions that you are that. You just remain, you let it pass through, you let it process. The sensation will only last a maximum of 90 seconds. You can time it. Might feel like it's forever, but if you can hold your presence with the discomfort and stay focused there, you will help this energy process and leave your system. So that's an important part to acknowledge, that being anchored in your stability has to be authentic, and there will be a bit of alchemical transformation that has to happen to you on an energetic level in order for it to be actually embodied. But that's easy. And if you know that you don't need to engage with too much story around it, it gets easier. I would absolutely love for everyone to really get this. This really is one of the core pieces that I teach on, that I take people through. And this is the thing to really get, because this is the foundation. And if you can have this foundation, you can really step into creating so many different things, into channeling yourself in greater ways, holding yourself at greater frequencies. And you need this foundation in order to be free in the game, in order to not get carried away by the things that happen or the things outside of yourself. Because the more you know this true ground of stability, the more you know that this is the only nourishment that you need. It is the only confirmation. It is the only validation. It's the only empowerment. And when you know the true ground of all these things, you are no longer going to be caught trying to find them in the external world, chasing your tail, hooked into a hamster wheel that is never ending. Yes, the things that happen that may confirm these things to you in the outside world, yes, they may be true, but all they're doing is they're offering you the permission to connect to the inner experience of it. But why chase those things if you could just directly have the inner experience of it? Because that's what you're looking for. So when you can realize it on this level, this is really the prerequisite to being able to play the game really freely and engage with it in a way that's not going to disconnect you from yourself. It will take you deeper into yourself. Okay? I really recommend getting this, like really feeling this in your body and understanding this and applying this. Because this is a really important ticket to freedom. It's an important ticket to being stable in who you choose to be. So please watch this video back, write down some key things, and be intentional about applying this and using this. And make this change within yourselves. Free yourselves from the game of insecurity and confidence. Just exit the paradigm if you actually want to be who you came here to be. Stop engaging with yourself on that level. Enjoy.